Without further ado, I'd like to introduce Jen Garrett. Jen is a Judge Advocate General Officer in the Army Reserve. Stop me if I say anything wrong. National Guard, sorry. She's a JAG officer, so she's a lawyer. She's also an executive at General Electric. She's a motivational speaker and published author. Her book is on a couple of tables. I gave Hector one in the back. There's one here, and if you guys can just kind of circulate the book around as she talks, that'd be great. And she is also a member of our Board of Counselors. So you guys have been hearing all about the Board of Counselors. Well, here's one of the members right here. And so she's dedicated to helping you guys out. Without further ado, I will let her start her presentation. Jen?
Thank you. It's a pleasure to be here today. Everyone can hear me in the back okay? Yeah, perfect. Okay, so I am not a USC alum, so I've been a Board of Counselor for a little over a year. It's been a great program to be a part of. What I'll say to you is these 10 months are going to go by fast. And so if you're feeling stressed and overwhelmed about how you're going to manage it, you've got this. So again, I've not been through the program, but I did go to law school working full time, and I have 7 degrees. I've been through 3 of them with while pregnant and having kids in the program. And so you can do this. Law school was 4 years, 4 nights a week. I worked 50, 60 hours. I was living in Orange County, worked in Long Beach, and I drove to LA 4 nights a week for 4 years to go to law school. So I haven't done MBB, but I've done something similar and I did it longer. So I know that you guys can do these 10 months if you commit and knuckle down. So you've got this. So you should have a couple different things. One, I've given you a handout that is just a little bit about my bio because I don't want to spend a lot of time talking about me and my background, so please read that at your leisure. I'm going to spend some time talking about, in the latter part of this presentation, about personal branding, and I'm going to go through that at length. And so I also recently published an article in the Association of Military Legal Administrators, an article on the importance of personal branding. So I've given all of you a copy of that as well for you to read again at your leisure. Lastly, you have a little packet that's got some worksheets in it. I don't know how much we're going to do together because of this time constraints and we are running a little behind, but it's just something for you to use to apply some of the stuff that we're talking about today. So with that, we'll go ahead and get into it. All right, so my book is called Move the Ball. A little bit about me, and I'm not going to talk too much, but I've always been a big football fan. Who here is a big football fanatic? Lots of people. College or pro? Pro. Okay, who are your teams? Let's throw some out. Packers. Bears fans. How about college? Or college, aside from SC, obviously. Bruins? Anybody else? Any Alabama fans by any chance? So I'm a 2-time Alabama alum, so we're like, I know. So I'm going to throw some football references in here. My book is called Move the Ball. It is a book that draws parallels to the sport of American football and life and how you can use these principles to be successful on and off the field. And so I'm going to share some of those with you today as well as some other things. So I want to ask a few questions before we get into it. First question. Who here woke up, fired up for today, and ready to be in this room and go through orientation? Woo! There you go. Yeah. No. It's supposed to be fun. How many of you, if you are courageous enough to raise your hand, came here thinking, what did I just get myself into? All right. Hopefully, you've got this 10 months, first of all, and I've got some things I want to share with you that I hope will help you get through it. All right, another question. How many of you wish that you had more time in the day? Right, everybody, right? There's always so many things competing for our time. I've got 5 kids. I have my GE career. I have my speaking business. I have the Army Judge Advocate work that I have to do. There's always so much stuff to do. No matter who you are in this room, I'm sure you can feel like that. So again, I have some things here that I want to share, some techniques, some concepts that hopefully you will apply that will help you get through the next 10 months, as well as take with you past the MTB program. All right, last question, and then I'll move on. How many of you bring the best version of yourself into every day? The best version? Every day. Throughout the day, you were like, you feel like this was the best of me every day. Not, some people kind of raise their hand, and why is that? The reason we don't have everyone raising their hand is because life gets busy, things don't happen the way we want them to. It just doesn't go our way all the time, right? And so those events tend to take us in a different direction, and we lose sight of bringing our best into the rest of the day. So I've got some things again to talk to that will hopefully motivate you, keep you going. None of the stuff that I'm going to talk about should be anything that you haven't heard before. It may just be framed in a different way for you to think about it. So I don't want you to think like, oh, well, where's this like new thing that I've never heard before? You're probably not going to get that. We're going to get a lot of things applied differently that maybe you'll use as you continue forward. All right, where is this? Policy, right, which is partially undergoing a new name here soon. Does anybody know that? United Airlines Field. Only the playing field is being renamed, not the stadium. So just a fun fact for you. So why do I have this up here? I mentioned that I was going to throw football references in here. And what better football program to tie in than USC, right? So the reason this is here is I want you to imagine that you are here in the USC tunnel. Right? In my book, one of the underlying principles is that you are the quarterback of your own life, and it's up to you to take ownership and move that ball forward down the field and get into the end zone. And so I want you to think about, as you're going out onto your own football field, what are you going to do to take action to keep moving forward? I mentioned 10 months isn't that long. You're going to get through this program. 10 months goes by very quickly. When I was in law school, my first year I sat in a room similar to this, and there was a judge who spoke to the orientation group saying, 3 years, because it was full-time and part-time students, so 3 years is going to go by so fast, you're going to be so busy every day, you're not going to know what to do, right? And it's going to be done one day. And I remember thinking, 4 years, I'm going to do this for 4 years, this is nuts. But those 4 years went by so quickly, and your 10 months are going to go by so quickly that if you're not thinking about what you're going to do when you're done now and taking action towards it now, it's going to be 2 months left in the program and you haven't done anything. And you're like, oh, I got to start figuring out how I'm going to get a job, networking, putting my resume together, all of those things that you need to start doing now. So I want to get you to start thinking about that. That doesn't mean today you have to go and do everything, but put a plan together and start working on that plan throughout the 10 months. Earlier we talked about how do you manage with a family and going through the program, and they said prioritization, right? Prioritize your workload, your days, include this into your priorities and your schedule, because finding that job is going to be important. Because it's not just about, let me just get a job to get a job. It's finding a job that you love, and I'll talk about that more in a little bit. All right, so it's important to know what game you're playing, right? In the football context, it's very simple. NFL teams ultimately are trying to get to a Super Bowl, right? And win Super Bowl championship. College teams want to get to the national championship, right? In life, it's very different. There's no grand prize, so to speak. Success is going to be defined by you, and so you need to take the time to figure out what is it that I want to be. What kind of career do I want to build for myself that's going to be meaningful and that I'm going to be excited to wake up to every day and go out and do. So I want you to think about how are you going to define your game? What are your goals? And this is not a one-off thing. I'm going to try to find a job now and be very tactical about it, and then when I'm ready to go do something else, I'm going to go look for a job and do it again. I want you to be very strategic in putting together your map. Where is it that I ultimately want to end up? Is that going to change? Possibly, right? Priorities change in our lives. People that don't have families now may have one down the road and say, you know what, that's not important to me anymore. So the plan can change, but you got to map it out, be strategic, and then figure out how you're going to get to where you want to go along the way. So it's, again, setting yourself up for a career of success, not just bouncing from one job to another job, etc. So when you're looking at defining your goals, and defining the game is not just about the career. It applies to any aspect of our life. When we have fitness goals, for example, financial goals, relationship goals, if you are religious, spiritual, and religious goals. So there are all kinds of different domains that you should be thinking about setting goals for. And so while you're doing that, you want to have different time horizons for these goals. So in the career context, what's that short-term goal? So in the next year or two, right? When you're done with the MTB program, where do you want to be? Some of you are still in the service, about to transition out. Some of you may have just transitioned out. Some of you may have been out for a long time. No matter where you are, you should have these different goals over the various time horizons. So short-term, next 1 to 2 years, right? 3 to 5 years out, where do you want to be? And then post that 5 years and beyond. What are those longer-term goals? And so I want you to just think about that as you leave here today. I want to at least plant that seed and get you thinking, what's important to me? Because I want you, and we heard earlier from the alum during the luncheon about motivation, right? What's your motivation? Where do you want to go? Is that motivation external or is it internal? Meaning, are you motivated by external things such as a big house, being able to have a nice car and show off all kinds of gadgets and gazmos to people, or are you motivated by something that really excites you and comes from your core and your soul? That sounds very cliche, but I really want you to think about where do I want to go and why do I want to go there? There was a comment during the luncheon where it said, if you weren't going to be paid to do something, what is it that you would do? Because you're not motivated by the paycheck, you're motivated by what you're doing because you love what you're going to do. So I would strongly urge you to follow your passions, and whatever pay comes, it's going to come when you're building out your passions and you're working towards building a successful life around that. Because you're going to be excited, you're not going to be as stressed out about it, it's not going to feel like work all the time. Right? You have so many hours that you spend at work, so make sure you're doing something that's important to you. Has anyone ever heard of the SMART goal concept? Raise your hand if you have, I just want to see. So a lot of you have not. And what this is about is setting specificity around those goals so they're not ambiguous, they're clear, so you know what it is you're working towards, but also there are things that you can control, so they're actionable goals. And this doesn't just apply in the career context. This is no matter what you're doing. You want to have goals that you are, that you can take action personally towards. If you're just relying on others to take action, it's not really a goal for you. So it's something that you need to own and be able to drive towards yourself. Is it measurable? So again, specificity, because you want to be able to always come back and say, have I achieved it or not? And if not, why not? Where do I need to go? So again, it's just setting the parameters around what is it you want to do, you're clear on what it is, and then you can figure out your plan, you can adjust, you can pivot as you need to be able to make progress towards it. This relevancy piece, this is important because I talked about making sure that it aligns with your inner motivation. So make sure it's something that's important to you, not just for a paycheck if it's a career goal or if it's any other goal. Again, that it's something that really resonates with your core values, who you are, etc. And time bound. This is probably one of the most important of the 5. They're all important. But the time bound is important because if you don't set a time frame for your goals, the chances of you achieving it are a lot less than if you have that time frame. If you don't hit that time frame, it's okay, you just readjust, right? But if you don't give yourself an initial target and run towards that, you're likely not going to achieve it when you want to achieve it. Does it make sense? So in your packets that are stapled together, you have a worksheet. So if you look at that, this is kind of a tool. It's on the first page, bottom slide. It's a tool for you, and I know we're running behind, so I'm not going to have you take time to do it now in the interest of time, but I would really urge you to work through this worksheet and identify what are your short-term career goals, your medium-term career goals, and your long-term career goals. Again, let this be kind of the baseline plan for you, and then use it as an organizational tool and then build around it. So I'm going to walk through each of these sections on this worksheet as we continue on. Use that as a tool for you, because that's what it's there for. A lot of times you go and you sit and you hear someone talk and they say all these things and you align with some of them you may not, and then you go off and like, yeah, I need to go do this. And then what happens? You get busy. Right? You go back and you get busy with school, you get busy with family, and then you don't do it. So I'm hoping that since you have this tool here, that you use it to make it work for you. And I just have a couple examples here. This is not a career example at all, but it's really just to give you a generalized example of how these goals listed are SMART goals. So in this example, you've got Jim, who's a middle-aged man who loves his job, but he feels like there's something missing in his life, and so he wants to be involved in the community, help youth, and make an impact. And so you can see short-term goal there by the end of next year, so you have that time-bound element. He wants to be volunteered twice a week at his community center. Again, you know exactly what the goal is. He's going to take action towards doing it, right? Because it's whether or not he volunteers or not. And he'll know, did I volunteer twice a week or not? And if not, why not? What adjustments do I need to make to be able to achieve that goal, right? So it gives him a tool to work towards his goals if he knows, if he's very clear on what the goal is. Same thing for the medium and the long term. I'm not going to read through these, but you get the point, right? So be very smart, and I'm not talking about intelligence, but smart in the acronym sense when you're writing down what your goal should be, whether it's a career goal or not, because it's a framework that will really help you be a little bit more clear in what it is you're trying to work towards, and then the likelihood of you making progress towards that goal and ultimately achieving it is going to be higher than if you don't do it. Right, you're going to see through this presentation a number of hashtags. That's kind of the thing, right? On social media, everyone's hashtagging this post, hashtag that, so more people will see my stuff kind of most of the time. So I use hashtags because they're short, and hopefully it'll help you remember some of the things that I'm talking about. So the first part is own your game. What this is about is you've taken the time to define that game, right? What it is you're going to be doing, what game you're playing. Now it's all about the ownership. So you need to really be committed to whatever it is you've put on that paper. Are you committed to it or not? Because if you're not, then it's just meaningless. It's a meaningless exercise, right? I've written this thing down. I'm not going to take action towards it. What is it? This is not a check the box exercise. This is critical thinking applied to your life and your career, and then figuring out how you're going to implement a strategy to be able to be successful. Right? So ownership is important. And why is ownership important? Because not everything is going to go the way you want it all the time. You may make some progress in the beginning, and then you apply for that job that you think is just the perfect job, and you may interview, and then you don't get it. Then what happens? You get discouraged, right? You start doubting yourself, questioning, is this the right path? And then maybe you go in a different direction because it may be an easier path for you to get a job doing something that you really don't like. And that's what I don't want you to do. So I want you to have this ownership, because when you do that, when you get that no or that rejection, you say, okay, that wasn't the job for me, but there is a job out there for me. That's what I want to do. And so I'm going to keep going and keep moving because I'm committed to what my career plan is, and I don't care what anybody else says. I'm going to get there. Make sense? All right, so I want to share a story with you that talks about commitment, because you have to be committed, as we heard earlier from the gentleman that was on the corner, right? If you're an entrepreneur, for example, that greatness isn't going to come overnight. You've got to be there day in, day out, committed to achieving that goal. So that commitment is foundational to whatever it is that you want to do. Right, so this is a picture from 1967, February 1st, 1967. Anybody heard of the game called the Ice Bowl?
Yes.
Do you know?
I'm from Green Bay.
Oh, I'm sorry. I say that with the most love, I promise. Okay, so the Ice Bowl championship game, 1967, and in this game, it was called the Ice Bowl because it was one of the coldest games ever, minus 15 degrees Fahrenheit. With the wind chill, it was minus 41 degrees. So I'm from Chicago. I flew in a couple days ago to be here, and we had the polar vortex back in February. Anybody in the Midwest during that time at all? It was very cold, right? It was like minus 51 degrees was the coldest that it got. And I stayed in my house, but I did open the door because I wanted to see what that felt like, and it was cold. So imagine being on the football field, and yeah, you're moving around, but it's still cold. So in 1967, there was a young boy who watched this game on TV, and he said that he wanted to be involved in the NFL. from watching this game. He was not going to be a player, but he wanted to be involved. And so he looked at being a coach. Darn it, just remembered. Okay, this picture is from Super Bowl 38, 2004. So at the end of that Super Bowl, the game was tied 29-29. 4 seconds left. Adam Vinatieri kicks a field goal, Pats win, 32-29. The guy that coached Adam Vinatieri was this kid who watched the Ice Bowl back in 1967. You've already seen what he looks like, but this is the guy that coached. So this guy's never walked a day in his life. Doug Levins, you can look him up, they've done stories on him. So Doug's never walked a day in his life, but he had a gift, and he could see the rotation of the ball, and so he could help kickers better their form and improve their performance and their efficiency on their kicking percentages. And so the reason I show this guy to you is because, can you imagine how many people told this guy no? Right? Can't even walk. Right? Doesn't look fit, doesn't look like a football coach, so to speak. But he didn't let those no's deter him from moving forward. So when you think about that rejection and maybe going a different path because you didn't get an outcome that you wanted, I want you to remember people like him, because these are the people that didn't let the no's deter them from where they wanted to go. Share another personal example. So I mentioned that I have a book called Move the Ball. I didn't grow up in a football family. People always ask, did your dad coach in the NFL or play college ball? No. Didn't have brothers. I was an only child, had no brothers that played football. So when my book came out, I didn't know a single person that coached or played in the NFL or college football. But I was a passionate football fan. I followed the game since I was 4, and I knew a lot more than a lot of other people who follow football. And so every opportunity I had to go out and talk to people that were in the sports industry, I took advantage of it. And a lot of them, what did they tell me? They didn't say no, but they said, oh, that's great, you wrote a book on football. Awesome. Because here I am, I was a female, didn't play college ball, didn't play in the NFL, and unfortunately, a lot of women who say they know football get discounted, right? Like, what do you know? And so that's how I was treated, even though they didn't directly say that. I grew up in Chicago. I watched the '85 Bears team when I was a kid. That was the team I idolized. Today, so my book was initially published 2013. Fast forward today, I text and talk to NFL guys every single day. This guy I watched play football when I was a kid. This is one of my closest friends and who's been one of my biggest supporters for my book. And I sit now on football boards. There's a new league that's going to be coming out next year, founded by 50 ex-NFL guys. I sit on a board for one of those teams. I sit on a board for a women's semi-pro football league. So if you had told me when I was a kid that this would be my journey, I wouldn't have believed it. And if I had listened to the people that told me no, right, or that discounted me in 2013, I wouldn't be where I am today. So again, don't listen to the people or the naysayers, the people that initially reject or discount what you're trying to do. It just means that they're not going to be part of the journey with you, right? So remember Doug Levins. His story's a little bit more impactful than mine. But remember people like he and I who have done things when people told us no, because you can do whatever you want. I truly